That's it. All right?
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, quiet, please. Shh, 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 shh. Ready, action, eyes. Okay, his head moves, his mouth opens up as he stands. There you go. Yeah, that's it.
The zombie dog was created by Henderson Design and Productions, headed up by Doug Henderson, that's me. Along with Andy Hosmer and some of my students from the Art Institute of Pittsburgh. We had to do it very, very quickly. We literally only had 2.5, really 3 weeks of build time before the dog had to be in front of the camera. And so we had to work very, very quickly. Immediately, I started to sculpt the head, and Andy Hosmer and Tim Corrigan began making the fiberglass for the body. Within a day or so, I molded the head and began the process of making the fiberglass. And Tim started making the foam skin, literally just building the skin directly out of foam over top of a taxidermy form. Andy and I began to mechanize the head. We wanted to make sure that we had eye movement. You know, we wanted the eyes to move side to side and up and down, and we wanted it to snarl. So we designed mechanisms that would lift the nose and then also lift the lips on either side. Of course, the jaw needed to move, and we wanted the eyes to be able to squint, which was really important to us because the way that dogs' eyelids work, they don't blink quite like humans do. So we wanted to actually move the brow and the cheekbone together to cause it to squint. We also wanted the head to look side to side and up and down, and so we came up with this idea. We'd seen a triple parallelogram, and I thought, well, why couldn't you just hook two triple parallelograms together? And so we call it the double triple parallelogram. That's what's used for the neck mechanism. Whenever we were considering this triple parallelogram, I wanted to make sure it would work, so I began building a miniature version of it while we were waiting for the taxidermy forms to arrive. Andy came over and helped me finish it, and we worked out a lot of the bugs on the little thing, figured out how we would actually attach the two triple parallelograms to each other. Also, it gave us an idea of the range of movement we'd be able to get. Andy and I talked quite a bit about how we would rig up this dog. We knew that we needed to make it so that it was a little bit mobile, so it could roll forward and we could rod puppeteer the legs. And so we had a bunch of different designs in mind and drew those over and over again until finally we came up with this design. And Andy welded a steel frame for the body, and then he also welded a steel rig that the whole thing could be held onto. The bottom of it had little wheels, and we had a platform that the legs would go on so that whenever we would tilt the body, which was on a pivot in the back, that would actually allow the dog to sort of crouch down. We didn't end up really getting to shoot it that way, but that was part of the design. And then the legs are hinged and jointed, and that's for just direct puppeteering, like rod puppeteering. To get all that going, Dan Canitz made the teeth, and Jason Formett began working on the tongue, and he also made a silicone copy of the nose so that we could replace the foam latex nose that was on the foam skin. Rob Bennett helped out with patching and painting, and especially helped out a lot with the hair work once we got to that. Nick Gillis began the process of cutting and attaching the fiberglass parts of the legs to the armature that was inside, which was an armature that I made very quickly out of aluminum. All of those parts were bolted onto the aluminum, and then Nick also covered all of the fiberglass with spandex to give it a slicker surface so that the foam latex would be able to slide against it. A breathing mechanism was made, which was just a simple bladder. Ben Rich made that for me. And that bladder was glued onto the side of the fiberglass. Then that, of course, was underneath the skin to make it appear to be breathing.
Okay, and dog breathes. Action.
Once the foam skin was done, we carefully skinned it right off of the form, and that we knew was going to be just a little bit too small, so we made a bunch of foam patches that we could use to patch it together. Also, back with the head, we wanted to see if we could make it so that the eyes would glow. Originally, we were planning on having Scotch-Light material down in all the crevices of the burns on the dog and also underneath the hair, so it would appear to be burning from the inside. Turned out that that effect was not going to work out in the daylight, so that was completely skipped. And so we decided to go ahead and skip the idea of the eyes glowing. But as you can see, it was actually a pretty cool effect. The skin was painted sort of a bloody red color. We were going to be gluing the hair on with rubber cement. We wanted to be able to pull bits of the hair off so that you'd be able to see sores on the skin, like since it's burning from the inside, the hair is falling off of it. And when we got there, we found out that we were only going to have 2 hours to shoot the effect, and so we didn't end up getting to do the deterioration the way we had originally planned on it. All of the hair was glued on, just a little bit of hair at a time, and it took me almost 5 hours to glue hair onto just one of the legs, and I realized I was going to need help. So a bunch of the guys jumped in to help me with the hairs as well, and so I think at one point there was one person on each leg and gluing hair up the back of the body. And it looked really ridiculous once all the hair was glued on. It was all really long. And Andy and my wife Cathy and I began trimming the hair down short with beard trimmers and scissors. And once the hair was at the length that we wanted, I went in and airbrushed some watered down acrylic paint to make sure that one color would fade into the next and to give some of the modeling to make the hair look more natural. We also had built the dog hollow. And what that allowed us to do was, since it was supposed to be burning from the inside, we could pump fog right up through its backside, and the fog would literally pour out of its mouth. And we had little slits in areas that we had left open so that the fog would come out from underneath its arms and under its body, and even out of a few holes in the neck. And the test we did looked great, and it worked really good on set. While we were puppeteering, Andy was puppeteering the neck and the head movements as well as the jaw. He also was blowing on a tube which inflated the bladder to make it appear to be breathing. I was puppeteering the legs off camera, and also I would put the fog up the backside of the dog, and then my wife puppeteered the face with remote controls. She was moving the eyes and snarls. And so with the three of us puppeteering it, the dog actually looked quite alive. So anyway, it was a lot of work, a lot of hard hours, and all the guys just really dove in and did a great job bringing together the zombie dog.